guys, it's Amber. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different, but I think you'll really enjoy it. It's pretty entertaining. There's a good lesson to be learned out of it too. Don't trust people with sensitive information. You just never know what someone is capable of. No matter how well you think you know them, you just don't, okay? Seriously. So I hope you enjoy, and yeah. By the way, you might say, Amber, you're petty. Well, being petty is better than petty theft. Just saying. So anyways, I don't want to make it seem like I'm really out to get this person, because I'm not. I really could not care less. I don't care. She did what she did. She's paying for her crimes. So I just want to get that out there. Today's video is literally just, I think it's a really good story, and I think other people should hear it, because in today's world with all the technology, I think it's a great lesson to be learned. So that is my motive with telling this story. So don't take it like a serious like 2020 expose thing, because it's not. It's just a story. It's just, you know, a good lesson. So let's get into it. So I'm going to take you from the very beginning to the very end of this story. In the very beginning is when I met this girl. And let's call her Ursula, because it's the perfect name. If you get it, you'll get it. You'll get it. By the end of this video, you'll get the pun. So let's call her Ursula. We went to high school together, and we didn't really know each other that well. We knew of each other, we talked here and there, but we never were very close. So I had both of my children, and I was just so caught up in being a mother that I was just very isolated and vulnerable. I didn't talk to many people, and I didn't do many things for myself. Like my hair and makeup, I usually always had my hair straight, but I stopped straightening it because I was just so caught up in being a mother. And I started to get in a very dark place because I wasn't doing anything that I enjoyed. I wasn't doing anything for myself. So at this point, I was starting to branch out and find hobbies for myself so that I could do things for myself and I could still do things for my children, and it was just a win-win situation. So at this point is when Ursula comes into my life. So I see Ursula on social media, and she is with a company called Unique, and she is selling makeup. And just so happens that I'm trying to take more care of myself, and I love makeup, so I'm just starting to get back into makeup. So it's like a match made in heaven, right? This girl seems like the perfect one to be talking to right now. And to top it off, she had kids of her own, so we bonded over a lot of stuff. We had a lot in common. It was great. So we start talking and we get close, okay? So I end up wanting to order some of the makeup she's selling. So I actually don't have my own debit or credit card. So what I did was, she came over, I gave her the cash, and we ordered my order, and it was great. It was perfect. So after I get my order, we start talking every day, and we are closely becoming best friends. Like, we talk all day, every day. We just are absolutely best friends. I mean, I considered her a sister. Remember how I said in the beginning that I don't have my own debit or credit card? Well, I tried asking Ursula again every time I would order, you know, if I could use her card like we had the first time I ordered, but she always didn't have money on her card, so if I gave her the money, the bank would have took it because she was in the negatives, okay? So I set up a plan with my grandma where I would do the same thing that I did with Ursula with my grandma. And my grandma was okay with it. I would give her the money. Obviously, I would ask permission before I did it, and I would just give her the money, and I would use her card. And it was my grandma's debit card, not credit card. That's something I want to make very clear. This was her debit card, so it was my grandma's actual real money that she had for bills and such. Okay? So at this point, I was using my grandma's debit card to make my purchases. So I actually went to place an order, and I had a problem. The website just would not work for me. So I messaged Ursula because she was my presenter, so she would be the one that would help me. And I could not get the website to work. And Ursula said, hey, why don't you send me the card information? I'll put the order in for you, and that way it'll be fine. And I was a little wary about it because that's a pretty serious thing, right? And Ursula was like, I really need the commission. I could really use this sale right now. You know you can trust me, and yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, okay, but please delete the card information right after you get the order to go through. And she says, absolutely. So I send the information, she makes the order for me, and everything's good. So that's when the idea came up that, hey, why don't I join Unique? I love the products, I love you, why don't I join your team? So that's exactly what I did. I joined under Ursula, and everything was going great. We were closer than ever. My grandma took a vacation to Michigan, and I was still here at home, obviously, and I tried to make a purchase, and it would not go through on my grandma's debit card. So I asked Ursula, because I asked Ursula everything. We literally told each other everything, okay? So I asked Ursula, and I'm like, hey, why isn't my grandma's card working? Like, do you have any ideas? Because I don't know much about that kind of stuff. Like I said, I don't have one, so I wouldn't know. And Ursula was like, oh, well, your grandma's on vacation. Maybe they froze it because your grandma used it out in Michigan, and you were trying to use it here in New York, and maybe they just froze it because it looked funny. And that made a lot of sense to me. So I called my grandma up and I told her about it, and I was like, you might want to call your bank because your card will not work. So that's what she did. She called the bank and they unfroze it, no problem. We didn't know at the time, we didn't really think about it, that theory didn't make sense that Ursula had said, just because my grandma did not try to use her card in Michigan. She never even touched her card. So that didn't really make sense. It makes sense later in the story though, okay? So at this point, everything is going great again. Ursula and I are still talking every day. My grandma's account is great. It's not frozen anymore. Now, this is kind of the turning point of this story. So my grandma is back home now. She's not on vacation anymore. And she calls me. And I'm not thinking anything of it. I answer the phone because I talk to my grandma all the time. And she tells me, Amber, there's a lot of charges on my bank statement to Amazon. And I said, that's weird. She said, you didn't order from Amazon, did you? And I said, no, Grandma, I never order from Amazon. I don't even have an account with Amazon. So she's looking at it on the phone with me, and she's like, yeah, there's like 8. Oh, wait, there's another one, there's like 9. And telling me that there's a lot of charges. And I was like, okay, it sounds like someone stole your card information. So my grandma's obviously very upset, and she had no money left in her account. So I was like, you know what, Grandma, just come over tomorrow and we'll go over it, and then we'll go to the bank and we'll take care of it, okay? And so I hung up with her, and I instantly messaged Ursula because, like I said, she's kind of like, my support system. I just wanted to confide in her. So I message Ursula, and I'm like, hey, Ursula, like, my grandma's card was stolen. And at this point, we didn't realize how serious it was. So I tell her, and I'm so upset. I'm like, I can tell my grandma's very upset. I'm so upset. And Ursula's just like, oh my God, that's horrible. The usual. And she goes, hey, let me look at my bank statement and make sure my information wasn't stolen. And I'm like, okay, like I kind of thought it was weird, but like, okay, yeah, sure. Obviously someone's stealing card information around here. So she looks at her online bank statement and she tells me that she has $500 missing. So at this point, we're suspecting a hacker because that is the only common link between Ursula and my grandma's card information. Even though Ursula said that she had deleted it right after making my order, that's the only thing we could figure out. So the whole night, Ursula and I are complaining and, just venting to each other about how upset we are that this happened. So now to the next day. My grandma comes over and she has her bank statement with all of the fraudulent charges that were made. And we're going over them together and circling like what was fraudulently charged and, what wasn't. So that way we could present our findings to the bank. And 2 charges stuck out to me because they had names by them. So they both had different names, and I look both of these names up on Facebook, and they both have on their Facebook that they work at a hair salon. And it was a hair salon that Ursula had just been to and gotten her hair done on 2 different occasions. And the charge was on both occasions that she had her hair done and everything. So at this point, Ursula and I are suspecting that her hairdressers got into her phone while she was getting her hair done and somehow stole both of our information. But again, that doesn't really make sense because she should have deleted the information right after the order. But, I never felt like suspicious against Ursula. So like I said, I just never suspected Ursula because she was so close to me. I never even considered her a suspect because I didn't think she was capable of this. So we're going through the charges, and after we realize the hairdressers, that's what we think happened, but we're still going through all these charges, my grandmother and I. And I noticed that there are 3 different Ipsy bags. I get an Ipsy bag. So I needed to know which one exactly was mine so we didn't tell the bank that was fraudulently made because I had permission to make that. So I emailed Ipsy, and this will be important later, okay? So I email Ipsy and I'm like, hello, my card has been stolen. Can you tell me which day my payment was taken? And obviously they didn't email back right away. So now we're talking way later at night, the same night, but way later at night, okay? And I'm looking over the statement again because I was just going through it. I just wanted to make sure I was very thorough. I was looking up companies that this person made orders to, just trying to, piece everything together. And that's when I start looking very closely at these 2 charges with the names of the hairdressers. And I notice a phone number by the charges. So I call the phone number, and it takes me to the Square Payment Center. And that's where everything changed for me. Because Square Payment Center, it clicked in my head that, hey, these girls didn't steal the card, they were paid by whoever stole the card. Who was there on those same 2 days to those same 2 girls? Ursula. So this is kind of where I start suspecting Ursula, but I still really don't believe it at all. Because when you're so close to someone, it takes a lot, and I mean a lot of evidence to make you believe it was them and they were capable of doing this. So I kind of suspect her a little bit, but I don't fully believe it yet. That's when Ursula starts admitting that she was receiving packages. So that starts looking a little fishy, she's receiving packages, but she's trying to say that someone must be framing her, and they're really trying to make it look like it was Ursula when it wasn't. And I was going along with it because maybe the hairdressers were framing her, I didn't want to believe it was Ursula, not for 1 minute, and I truly didn't believe it, not yet. So we're going along with this whole someone is framing her whole thing, which is kind of crazy. That's a lot of work and effort to frame someone. And then Ipsy emails me back and what they said absolutely crushed me because now things are starting to look very bad on Ursula's part. At this point, I really start believing that it's Ursula because I have the 2 hair appointments on 2 different days to 2 different people adding up. I have an Ipsy email saying it was her. She's admitting to getting packages. Now, why would someone frame her and not get anything out of it? If Ursula's getting these packages, you know what I mean? Like, no one's going to risk going to jail to send Ursula packages. So things just started looking very bad on Ursula, and I started to think, yeah, maybe it was her. So I confront her. So confronting her doesn't really go that well, and I am absolutely heartbroken to even think that she was capable of this. So I just let it go and I stay cool, but in the back of my head I'm like, it might be her, you know? I'm not 100% convinced yet. So I start investigating a little bit more just to make sure, because I want to know who did this, and I am just so devastated. You know, to even consider that it was Ursula, that just absolutely shatters my heart. It really did. Like, that was the worst time for me. So I start investigating and just stay cool because I didn't want her, if it was Ursula, I didn't want her to start destroying evidence, even though looking back, she really couldn't do much. So I start investigating and just more things add up. The same day she said she was going to order 2 Jeffree Star liquid lipsticks, there was a charge for 2 Jeffree Star liquid lipsticks. And as you can see, it was the perfect total with 2 liquid lipsticks plus shipping. It's like the perfect amount, so that added up, as well as her Unique convention ticket. The same day that she bought hers, there was a charge to Unique for the same amount that a ticket costs, so that added up. At this point, it kind of becomes undeniable that it was Ursula. I mean, we have 2 hair appointments, the same day that she had hair appointments with the same 2 girls. We have the Ipsy email naming her as the other person associated with that card. We have her admitting to getting packages. We have the Jeffree Star charge the same day she said she was getting liquid lipsticks, and then we have the same day she got her convention ticket a charge for a convention ticket. So at this point, it is not looking good for Ursula. So at this point, Ursula and I are still on the same team with Unique, and a lot of charges were made to Unique. So I took all of the information I had and I wrote a huge email to Unique letting them know about the card being stolen and everything, and they start an investigation because some charges were made to Unique, so they could investigate who made them, where they were shipped to, and under what presenter did they order from. So they start their investigation, and I keep this a secret because, you know, I kind of suspect Ursula at this point. Like, there's just too many coincidences, you know what I'm saying? So I keep that secret from Ursula while Unique starts their investigation, and Ursula just starts acting very guilty and suspicious. She starts, you know, saying things like, oh, she's going to be arrested because she helped me make charges in the past. And I tried telling her, like, no, because those charges were with permission. They're not being investigated. Those charges have nothing to do with it. Yes, you did help me, but, you know, that's not going to make you get arrested. And she even straight up asked me at one point if it came back on her if my grandma and I wouldn't press charges. And I told her, well, that's not really up to us because it's going to be the bank that presses charges. They're the ones that got all this money taken from because they reimbursed my grandma. Now there is a big unique get together, and it was like for our whole unique team, and I wasn't gonna go because Ursula was gonna be there. But my friends that knew the whole situation were like, no, you should go. Seriously, don't let her ruin something else for you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I went, and Ursula seemed totally fine. She acted totally normal. It was nice, you know. I was kind of disappointed because I was hoping that her seeing me would make her feel bad and maybe she would come clean and maybe we could settle this without the police. Like she could just tell me like, you know, I'm sorry, and return what she could and make payments on what she couldn't return, but that didn't happen. She seemed totally fine, no problems at all. So this is where shit hits the fan because she starts trying to plot everyone against me. I had already told one girl on our team the whole story, and she was trying to get her and another girl against me and convince them that it was all me and I was framing her. But the one girl already knew, and eventually the other girl did come around. So this was the perfect excuse to cut Ursula out of my life because I just wanted nothing to do with her. I can't believe that she did this to me. The fact that she did do it, like I wanted nothing to do with her. So I ended up cutting her out of my life. So it was the perfect excuse to cut her out of my life so that way I didn't have to tell her like, no, I actually know what you did and I don't want to talk to you. So I just used that as an excuse and cut her out of my life. So then it was time for me and my grandma to go to the police and make police reports. The bank was the ones that told us to wait, and they told us when to go because they wanted to investigate first. So they told us to go. So my grandma and I go to the police, and it was rough. They thought it was me. They said it's always usually family that does this, and they could tell that it was someone young that made all these charges. So I got absolutely grilled. I mean, it was scary, but at the same time, it wasn't. It's just kind of intimidating, you know? They're cops, you know? Even though you're innocent, it's just intimidating. So we get those reports filed. So the next thing that happened was Ursula was kicked out of Unique. And that to me told me that it definitely was Ursula. With all the stuff that I've already found in my own investigation, I just don't believe in that many coincidences. I mean, come on. With her being kicked out of Unique, that told me them investigating those charges and they found enough evidence to kick her out. That just solidified it for me even further. At this point, I was pretty sure, but it just, you know, made everything like final for me. But of course, she claimed that she quit Unique, but she didn't. She was kicked out. And from there, things were quiet for 6 months. Didn't hear anything about anything. And the detective called me, and we spoke on the phone for a bit. I told her a condensed version of the story. She asked me to come in. I did. I gave her all my evidence, and it was great because at this point they had been investigating, so they knew it wasn't me. So they were very nice to me this time. So I gave them all my evidence, and eventually Ursula was arrested. And now we're just waiting to go to court. By the time this is posted, I'll have already attended court. I'm not like testifying or anything. I'm just going to see what happens. And that is the end of my story. I got justice, my grandma got justice, and yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed my story and learned a very good lesson because this was very serious. Like, my grandma could have lost everything. Her house, her car, health insurance, you name it. because all of her money was stolen. The thing that really makes me mad though is the fact that she is still trying to say that it was all me. Clearly it wasn't. There's just so many, evidence. If it was me, I would be arrested. Let's be serious. They can't arrest you for no reason. Like, you need hard evidence. And for what? Over some makeup and clothes? Because that's all that was purchased? Now, I could understand if maybe it was for stuff for her kids that she desperately needed, but it was mostly makeup. So, sorry, but no sympathy.